I'm a huge believer in the role of science and technology in advancing society, but we need to do it in a way that is humane. Before the conference, and Ola said, "Could you come back?" I'm like, "I can't come back all the way across." so I said, "But I'll come next year." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to invite you." So here I am.
Oh, really? Okay, this is a bit ad hoc, but we'll do this.
Yeah, whatever.
Welcome, Allison Johnson, to Heja Framtiden.
Happy to be here.
You are most known for working with Apple during the important years of launching the iPhone.
Right.
And the iPad as well.
And the iPad.
Yeah.
That's right. And iTunes and iMacs and everything with an I.
You're responsible for the paradigm shift we've gone through.
He was just fine. I participated. Yeah, there was lots of help. But yeah.
There was one interesting thing that I noticed in a talk that you did earlier, where you said that the words brand and marketing were banned from your brand marketing.
The vocabulary at Apple, yeah. The two words that we were not allowed to use were the words brand and marketing. And the reason for that was Steve thought that brand was this artificial term that was made up in sort of Mad Men era days by folks who were trying to justify giant ad spends, right? And he said, people don't buy brands, they buy products. And our job is to make products that people love, right? And so we weren't allowed to use the word brand, and we had to think of products in the context of every single interaction that a person had with our company and our product. And so we designed every one of those interactions to be a moment of joy, a moment that built trust, as opposed to a withdrawal in the trust bank, so to speak. So a deposit in the trust bank over a withdrawal in the trust bank. And that's the way we thought about it. So it wasn't about building a brand. It was about building trust.
And some would even say that Apple has become almost a religion or a cult. Did you have anything like that in mind?
No, never. It was just. I think it's something that happens when people can feel how much a company cares about them and the products that they're building, right? About them, the customer. And that was true. I mean, as I said, we were making decisions based on, is it the right thing to do for the customer? Not, did it cost less? Did it cost more? Would it make us more competitive? It was always simply, is it the right thing to do for the customer? And you could feel it, right? As a customer, you might not know it, but it takes 4.3 seconds for the lid of an iPhone box to rest back on its base, because it would create the right amount of suction when you opened it, because it was a moment of ceremony, right? And we thought of it in the context of there's some kid who spent their whole summer, saving up money from babysitting to buy their first iPod, and we wanted that to feel like a moment of ceremony. And we'd hand ink the edges of the boxes so you couldn't see the paper seams. And that level of care, that level of attention to detail in moments is what translated for people, and that creates a level of devotion that could border on cultish.
But so was the design element or the design team, were they sort of involved in all aspects of the
customer journey and the customer experience, from packaging design to what you'd see in Apple retail websites or Apple retail stores, to what you'd see on the website, to the advertising, to the films, to the experience that you'd have when you walked into a China mobile store where Apple products were sold. We really were involved in every single aspect of touching and communicating with customers, reaching customers.
How long were you there?
About a little over 6 years.
Okay. And how do you see Apple's development since?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it changes with different leadership, right? Steve was a unique kind of leader, and he was a founder, right? And ran the company the way he wanted to, right? And now the company has to grow and scale, and it's got new leadership, and I'm sure it's obviously it's doing a magnificent job. I mean, the stock, valuation of the company surpassed $1 trillion, the first company in the world to do that. So the company is doing marvelous under Tim's leadership, which is, I think, a tribute to the fact that a number of the folks who were there when Steve was there are still in key roles, and carrying the vision forward. So it's been great to see.
And what did you do when you stopped working with them?
Yeah, I wanted to take that set of skills and experiences that I learned at Apple, and apply it to the new generation of companies that were being built on this new mobile platform that we launched. So companies like Airbnb and Twitter and Square, and really help them make their way into the world. So lots of focus in Silicon Valley on building product, incubators, accelerators, venture capitalists who focus on product, and how to build great products. But there isn't a lot of focus in the Valley on how to build great markets. And one of my former colleagues, Mark Andreessen, would say, you can have a great team and you can have a great product, but if you don't have a great market, nothing else matters. So market matters most. So I saw it as my opportunity and responsibility to help these companies making incredible products make their way into the world.
So what is a great market?
So a great market means that you have a value proposition, that you're building something that really is meaningful to people, and you know how to get that product in front of them and into their lives, and you do it in a way that they want to continue to use it every day. So you're actually creating a moment of joy, or you're solving a problem in a fundamental way. And so if you can find your customer, fill a real need, and then find lots more of them, that's a big market. Those are great markets.
Have you seen any other companies or brands building the same kind of religious aura like Apple did back in your days?
Yeah, certainly there are companies like that. I see lines around the block when I'm in New York or at the Supreme store, right? Or when Nike or Adidas introduces a new shoe. There's that kind of fandom. And certainly, there are bands and musicians that have that kind of tribal love, right? But as far as companies that create that same kind of passion, it's hard to see. It's hard to find. It's rare.
And how do you think the future will look like for this kind of marketing?
Well, I think the role of marketing has evolved greatly over the course of the last several years. Obviously, technology is a really fundamental part of the job of marketing, data and insights, and helping us get more precise about targeting customers and messaging to customers and finding customers is vitally important. We can use data and analytics to help really understand how to drive revenue and growth more effectively than ever. And these tools are now in the hands of marketers, which is a new role for marketing, because typically we were the guys who were spending money on things that people really didn't understand the value of, couldn't really quantify. Right now, we're definitely in the middle of quantifying and value to customers. So I think that means that marketing has a very big role to play and a legitimate seat at the leadership table in a way that it hasn't in the past. So I think it's a great time to be a marketer, but you need to understand not only the art of marketing, which is the storytelling and the beauty and the emotion and really getting into people's lives, but you also got to understand the science of marketing and how you can effectively use data and analytics to be a better marketer.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many tools you have if you can't build the relationship with the customer.
and that's data can help you understand how many people are out there and help you A/B test which feature or which button they like to push. But ultimately, you have to answer the question why. And why isn't a question that you can answer through data and analytics. It comes through really face-to-face interactions and really understanding and connecting with customers in a way that data doesn't provide.
There's also a ad fatigue from customer side.
You bet.
And I mean, marketers can jump onto these tools and see that they can automatically target and use programmatic to reach people. But if I get slightly irritated, they have failed.
Absolutely.
So it's a very delicate line.
Yeah, and you certainly can't use advertising, as your only tool here. So you need to be thinking about, how to create meaning, how to show up in ways that add value and purpose, so thinking about experiences, thinking about content, helping people get the most out of their products, being beneficial and useful in their lives, versus just hitting them with advertising, for sure. How many times in your Facebook feed are you like, no, thank you? Yeah.
Especially for products that I've already bought. That's
Absolutely.
the most annoying.
It's so annoying.
Books that I've already read.
That whole add choice button on Google. Yeah. Oh my God.
What would you say was your strength in working with the iPhone and iPad, for example? What did you bring?
Well, I think the thing that we did that was sort of antithetical, right? Is that we were launching a new product, and our job was really not to do traditional marketing, but to help people understand how to use it. So it was really about educating and informing and helping people make this transition from kind of old flip phones and into this era where you were actually touching a screen and using your fingers in ways that you'd never thought of before. So it was really to help educate people and help them get the most out of the product, which isn't always the way new products are launched. But it was important to us. We thought about, the contrast we made. It was like today, flip phone era, 90% of people were using 10% of their phone, right? We wanted 100% of people to use 100% of their phone. That was our goal. And so we had to show them how to do it. So it was really sort of not very glamorous marketing. It was education, right?
But how important are these yearly Apple conferences? Because they sort of build the enigma around and the attention.
They're certainly, and Steve was the master, right? I mean, his ability to bring people into, what Apple was building and why was magnificent, and Apple still is, the best at bringing new products into the world. One of the things that I think was really important is that Apple, as much as people were always wondering what we were doing, there was a real cadence to how we launched products and when we launched products and what to expect. But it was the beauty of it. It was the storytelling. It was, that I think was so magical and would bring people into the journey and, become our storytellers for us and create that level of evangelism that I think is every company tries to get, but it's hard to do.
Do you think they will continue to do this yearly, or will it be
for sure.
faster?
Yeah. I think the challenge that Apple has now is the scale of the product cycle, right? So when you're launching a new product and it goes to tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, and you have to manufacture all of that and distribute all of that, the cycles get a little bit longer because the pure scale of it. And I think they're also conscious of the fact that people don't need to be on a yearly replacement cycle for things like iPhones, right? I mean, that gets awfully expensive. And, if we're asking people to give up their phone every year, it better be for really good reasons, right? And so the innovation cycle, the pressure is on them to continue to release products that really deserve to be upgraded all the time.
Do you still live in Silicon Valley?
I still live in Silicon Valley.
How would you say that Silicon Valley has changed during these 15, 20 years that you've been there?
It's an amazing ecosystem in the sense that there's so much talent and there's a lot of money and there are resources that are unique in the world that have grown up there, and so it's a very fertile place for innovation. And there's a spirit there that pervades. It sort of grows in the ground from the days of sort of gold mining, right, to now. That anything's possible, and ambition is good. I think that recently we've fallen into a little bit of a tech utopia state where we think technology, we aspire to make technology that is good for the world, that is a force for good, but we don't always accept the responsibility that comes with that. And I think that Silicon Valley is going through a little bit of a reckoning at this moment and really thinking about the unintended consequences of the technology that we put into the world and the responsibility that comes with that. So I think it's an interesting time.
Do you see a lot of ethical and moral discussions going on?
I wish I saw more of them, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more. There's certainly a set of folks who are starting to have those discussions and conversations, but I think it needs to go much further and much deeper into the ecosystem.
Yeah, and some people see Silicon Valley as a very homogenic area. Or
diversity is a problem.
Yeah.
I would say diversity and equality are problems, and I think that is not good for society, and it's especially in an ecosystem that's responsible for producing things that have such a giant social impact. So I think that's something we really have to work on.
Do you think Silicon Valley will have the same kind of impact as it has now in the future, or do you see other areas popping up?
Well, certainly it's exciting to see other areas popping up. I've spent a lot of time in the Nordics over the course of the last couple of years, in Helsinki and in Stockholm, and also in the UK, Amsterdam. So what's exciting to see is that there are great companies being born and built here. And I think that's super important. I also think that there are some interesting advantages or opportunities that come along with that, in the sense that I think Europe has a different view of individual data and control of data at the individual level in a way that maybe the U.S. doesn't. And so I think Europe also has a different feel for the role of government in regulating some of these industries, which I think could be very important and could teach the U.S. some interesting lessons. You might be, certainly I think that in many cases, particularly in Sweden, equality and diversity are just part of the culture, not the same level of debate that we face in the U.S. So there are certain huge benefits, I think, to technology innovation centers popping up around the world. So I'm a huge proponent of that. I hope it continues.
What is your best tip? This is a big question. What is your best tip for making the world a better place in the future?
I think it is thinking about, I'm a huge believer in the role of science and technology in advancing society, but we need to do it in a way that is humane. So I think to the extent that we ask real questions about humanity and the humanity of technology and the impact of technology on society, and build product in the context of improving social impact deliberately, having a beneficial social impact, and really questioning it, is really important. So in the context of, all of the companies that are getting started, and, at a DNA level, ask those questions, and make sure that, you have answers that you're going to be proud of 10 years and 20 years on, because hopefully you'll be hugely successful and you want to leave a positive imprint.
Yeah, so sustainability is not just some CSR activity on the side.
Not at all.
It has to be built into the core of the brand.
I live in California, so sustainability climate are huge issues, and we live with it, and it's creating devastation. And so it's not a fairy tale. I mean, those understanding our impact on the planet and on people is really important.
Can the tech companies be instrumental in battling climate change, for example?
Certainly. I mean, what's interesting is, I'm excited about the companies who are trying to deal with those things, whether it's in the context of packaging and packaging design and making sure that, we're creating products that are, good for the earth and not doing damage to the earth. There are companies that are looking at creating a more sustainable food supply. Those are all incredibly important companies.
No, I mean, apart from connecting the world and making our lives better in many ways, do you think Apple works in sustainable ways?
Yeah.
Climate conscious ways?
100%. Apple is, has always been concerned about that. I mean, even, in packaging design in the very early days, looking for products that we knew were easily recyclable and would dissolve into the earth, corn-based, right, and things like that. So we were really studying the impact of our products on the planet from the very beginning. So I think that's built into the DNA there.
Great. Who do you think we should interview?
Oh, so many people. In the context of food supply, there's a fellow by the name of Pat Brown who runs a company called Impossible Foods, who is making a plant-based burger that tastes like beef. So there's no compromises for all those beef lovers, but it does far less damage to the planet. Just those kinds of remarkable individuals who are working hard to do good. Those are the folks I would point you toward. There's lots of those.
Do you have any reading tips?
Reading tips. I'm reading Harari's books right now. Super interesting, and I think that they are good for the folks who are building companies right now, because I think it makes you super conscious of the issues that we're looking at in the 21st century.
Thank you so much, Allison Johnson, for
You're welcome.
Joining us.
Thank you.
You can find everything you need at hejaframtiden.se. Next time we'll discuss something else. Thank you for listening.